MyMac Podcast 959, Sorting Out Photos.
Hi everyone and welcome to this week's mighty MyMac Podcast. Well, does photos drive you crazy with all of its sometimes very annoying quirks? Do the GMen have any answers? We'd like to think we do, but how does that usually end up?
Not well.
Not well. Hi, Guy. How are we this period between Christmas and New Year's must.
Everything is kind of messed up.
Messed up. Yeah.
Messed up.
So for the folks listening, we're actually recording between the two times. So we hope that you're having or have had a lovely holiday. Enjoyed Christmas if you celebrate that, and hope you have a lovely New Year if you're not Chinese, because that's not till the end of January, of course. Just enjoy yourself, folks, because, well, I'm kind of retired, so I'm enjoying it anyway.
Guess who isn't retired between the two of us?
Let me think. It's not me.
Yeah, it's me.
It's funny. I've been thinking, Guy, this week. There's been lots of, because we're at home and we have a family. I've got less time going out doing stuff and have the ability to listen to all of the podcasts and a lot of the YouTube channels that I click or that I have subscribed to. But the thing is, they're all reviews of the year, and I think, delete, because I've been listening to them all through the year.
We've lived it. We've lived the year.
I've lived it. I've listened it. So I'm not going to listen to it again. I'd almost prefer people not to put stuff out. You know what I mean? I don't. Yeah. But there are people out there that like all that sort of stuff. So it gives it to them as well. So
see,
it does feel quite nice going. Yes, cleared. Yes, listen to that.
Yeah, got that.
Delete.
Got that one too.
Yeah.
We didn't do like a Christmas tech show. We talked about that last week.
Yeah.
Or the last show. And we also didn't do a, hey everyone, 2023 was quite a year. So we did this and the tech reel did that. And oh my goodness gracious, we're going to talk about it right here. Right, guys? Yeah. Habadoo-gabi.
No, we're not doing that.
No, we're not going to do that at all.
We're not going to put our listeners through that. No. Them going, no, that's not what happened. Yeah. No, they didn't produce that. No, they didn't do that either.
Here's the thing. We live in an alternate reality from pretty much every other podcast that's out there.
That's very true. And I think people don't realize this, actually.
Yeah. Well, that's why we have to remind them every once in a while. It's like the things that you hear on the MyMac podcast may or may not have any correlation at all with reality as you know it.
Yeah, true.
Right.
Because we live in a different
state of mind,
really. Yeah, state of mind. Anyway, how was your Christmas, Guy?
Oh, my goodness. Christmas was spectacular. Both boys were here with their significant others. And they spent a lot of time doing most of the stuff that I normally have to do in the past. So I got to nap a lot, Gaz. And listen, never miss the opportunity to have a good nap.
Yes.
And I think I told you or told somebody that we had like a 7-pound prime rib.
Yep.
That was USDA prime grade, which is like the top of the top grade. And it was not exactly inexpensive. It was
meat. Can I just say, meat at Christmas time is rarely inexpensive.
This was quite pricey. And it fed the whole gang of us, 6 of us, with a good bit left over until one of my sons, who shall remain nameless, Peter, had some friends over the next day.
But it wasn't Guy.
No, it was not. And it wasn't Guy Jr. either. So who does that leave? Scratching his tin. He sees these guys because one came in from Cleveland and one flew up from Georgia. and Peter only gets to see these guys like once every year, right around this time, because they still have family in this area as well. So they stayed up late watching videos and doing all kinds of stuff, and just like last year, completely demolished the leftover prime ribs. They didn't touch the bones, and the next day, I called him out on this the next day. I was like, "You guys did it again," and he was like, "Yeah, but we left the bones." And it was like, the bones are not the best part. And he was like, "Oh, yes, they are." I said, "No, they are not. It's the low and slow cooked meat. That's the best part." And it's almost all gone. And so, like I said, the same thing happened last year. And there's an old saying about the definition of insanity. So I should have expected it.
Yes.
And I even told them, as they were, everybody was like gathered in the kitchen. I was like, "Wow, look at all that ham that we have left over. I bet that ham is delicious." And they're all eyeing the container with the prime rib going, yeah, the ham's great. Thanks, Mr. Cyril, the ham's great. Yeah. Love that.
Good try.
Yeah, it was a good try. It was a valiant effort, and it failed beyond my wildest dreams, and I am not at all surprised. My favorite gift that I got this year, it wasn't the biggest or the most expensive, and I didn't even have it on my Amazon gift list. Wonderful wife Tracy got me a long sleeve USS Cerritos t-shirt, and USS Cerritos is referring to, of course, the hero ship in Star Trek Lower Decks, which I love that show. And it was a total surprise. And it reminded me that sometimes the best gifts aren't the ones that are the biggest or the most expensive, but the ones that are least expected. And I was just so delighted to get that shirt. I should have actually had it on today for the podcast, but I didn't think of it until like right now.
Yes, and so for those listening, there is rather a big game coming up this weekend, and I have to say that Mr. Searle is a fan of both teams. However, he is leaning to the left at the moment because he has a Ravens shirt on.
Yeah.
And I believe from our brief discussion that he's actually got Raven flags out on his front garden as well. So, Miami, when he comes down next, or Florida when he comes back down, you got to sort him out, boys. You got to sort him out.
Hear it. They'll be at Orlando Airport going, yeah, Cyril, how you doing? Baltimore, huh? Baltimore, really?
Yeah,
grew up
really
25 miles away from the Orange Bowl, where Miami played, and you're rooting for the Ravens. What? What?
Just for those listening, though, I know that his heart is with Miami.
It is, but I don't have a Miami jersey, and that's something that I need to take care of.
Okay.
Now,
anyway,
lastly, remember last week I was talking about how I completely screwed up all of my credit cards based on, and I'm going to show it to you. I've got it right here.
You did a really good job of it, though, didn't you?
This is the ticket. This is the ticket that I got in New Jersey that caused me to destroy 2 of my credit cards, and then I left the other one at a restaurant. Well, I've got them all back with new numbers, so I'm still going to have to keep an eye on them for a while. And I also have now paid the stupid effing ticket that I got while I was in New Jersey. I just blanked on the friggin' name of the little town. Doesn't matter.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's where Springsteen spent a lot of time. So that's like everything that's happened over the last week. How about you, Gaz?
Well, obviously, had family up for Christmas. Had my my parents for Christmas Day, and I had my daughter who turned up quite a few days before Christmas, and then her significant other turned up Christmas Eve, and they've actually just gone today because they're going to Morocco for a week, a short, quick week's holiday with a significant other's parents.
Okay.
And my other
Wouldn't have been my choice for a vacation, but okay.
Well, they go there fairly regularly. It's quite nice down there, apparently. They quite enjoy the atmosphere, and it's an all-in hotel and,
Okay. Well, see, because I've been to Morocco. I've been to Rabat and the other city, Casablanca.
Yeah, they're not... They're somewhere else. Anyway, doesn't matter. Anyway, my other daughter and her significant partner came round as well. We played lots of Christmas games, got lots of nice presents. No tech presents for me. No tech presents.
That's because we didn't do it on a show.
Not sure I've got a favourite, if I'm honest. I think that I'm quite enjoying all of my favourite. What I normally do for dear Mrs. Gaz, who has just finished last year's present that I got her. Would you like to know more?
Yes, I would.
Okay, so I buy
fruitcake,
Mrs. Gaz,
every
year around 1 meter of paperback books.
Wow, that's a lot of books.
So the thing is, I wrap them all up individually as well and give them to her. And I keep piling them. And this year she's got more. She had a bit more than 1 meter of books this year, and she absolutely loves it because I pick out books which I think that she wouldn't normally pick herself. And she gets through them all and she really enjoys them. And some of them go back. Now, these aren't all brand new paperbacks. They're from the charity shops. Because,
sure, why not?
Buying paperback books, the amount I bought, which was 34, could be quite expensive, actually. But these are like £1.50, £2 each. So,
Well, you know what? It's not always about the expense, but also
no, it's not.
That you're using something and not just buying a dead tree version of...
Well, not only that, it's not only that, she also really enjoys, the fact that she's got a load of new books. And I did really well this year because not one of the books I got, and this is one thing that does worry me, has she read before. And there's some new authors in there as well. So, yeah.
Nice.
That's what I do. Yeah. I get win-win all round. Absolute win-win all round. I think, Guy, we're close to a possible Gaz's Snippets. What do you think?
I do.
Gaz's Snippets. Not a lot going on in the last probably 2 weeks, actually. I've not got a ton of stuff
Probably longer than that.
Well, it's about 2 weeks, isn't it? It's something like that. Anyway, let me jump straight in. Apple will likely have to change Apple Card to attract a new partner, a report says. Well, maybe. I don't think changing the card is going to help. I think probably changing the terms of the partnership is probably what they're really going to have to do.
Yeah. I love my titanium card.
Yeah, I've got a couple of really good, really well-linked articles here, and they came one after the other, and it made me smile. Aston Martin, Porsche, preview brand distinct Apple CarPlay interfaces. Apple is collaborating with automakers to bring brand distinct CarPlay interfaces to their respective vehicles. The first brands involved are Porsche and Aston Martin, with both high-end performance vehicle manufacturers previewing the bespoke CarPlay interfaces to be featured prominently in the upcoming models. Okay, here's the next.
Well, before you go on from that,
go on. Go on.
We're talking about Porsche and Aston Martin, and these companies are not only incorporating CarPlay with, content consumption and all the rest of that. A lot of the functions of the car themselves is going to be customizable through what Apple is doing with them. So, what your speedometer looks like, what your tachometer looks like, what kind of gauges you're going to have, and what its layout is going to be. These are all things that Apple showed earlier in the year, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what some of these car makers, because it's kind of giving them a way to customize the experience, and in a way that other companies, GM, haven't been able to figure out.
It's funny that you mentioned GM, because my next article is GM's CarPlay replacement software is off to a disastrous start.
Well, color me surprised.
So good luck, GM. Yeah. Good luck. That's all I'm going to say. Apple Card savings account gets its first interest rate boost since its launch. Interestingly, it's gone up from 4.15%, which at the time, and I remember us talking about this, we thought was quite good.
It is quite good.
Well, it's now gone up from 4.15% to 4.25%.
Oh,
it's a shift upwards.
I'll be putting some more in there.
However, I think they need to perhaps, if it's not quite at the good rate that it was before. Now, maybe that whole process is part of the negotiation they're going to have to be doing with a new team member when they get another bank involved. But we shall see.
It's still a good rate, though.
Still a good rate. It is because it's instant interest and it's instant access and all of that sort of stuff. So
right.
Sad news, Guy. Sad news.
Oh.
Apple Infinite Loop retail store is permanently closing next month.
Oh, no.
Now, this is part of the fact that actually Apple has moved from Infinite Loop because that's where their headquarters used to be, of course. And they've now got the Big Donut back in Cupertino or in Cupertino somewhere. Don't know exactly where. So they don't really need any of that location. And they're now finally closing that retail store. What a shame.
But they're still hanging on to the original, to the building and stuff. They're just closing the retail store there.
I don't know. That piece I haven't dug out of this particular article, but I know that the retail store itself is actually closing. The Family Plan, which is on Apple TV Plus, starring Mark Wahlberg, has quickly become Apple's most watched movie, apparently. So,
really,
yeah. Which there you go.
Well, it's weird because Mark Wahlberg was in a movie that was very similar to this.
Yeah. Well, was it a good movie?
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Well, if it was a good movie, lots of people might have thought, well, I'm going to watch that as well. But equally, the thing is, lots of people are joining Apple TV Plus, and as they join, this will have been advertised more than their other films because it's new. So it's quite likely to become quickly their most watched movie.
That's true.
So, maybe not so
Cause and
surprised. Effect. Yeah. And if you've not seen Coda on Apple TV Plus and you're a TV Plus watcher, thoroughly enjoyed that movie. That's the one that they got the award for, wasn't it? The Academy Award. Yeah. Apparently, Apple wants to train its AI with 50 million worth of licensed news articles. Important little piece there, licensed news articles. I don't know if you've noticed recently that certain news outlets are starting to have a go at certain AI industry because they're actually pulling information from their news sites, and they didn't ask permission to be able to use it elsewhere. Actually, a lot of that stuff that they might have on their sites may also be your data. And I don't mean you in particular, Guy. I'm pointing my finger at all of our listeners.
Sure.
So maybe we should have a class action lawsuit go out to some of these organizations.
I say go after Epic Games.
Well, you would, wouldn't you?
I would.
I can't think.
Damn you, Tim McSweeney.
Apparently, the Biden administration has decided not to. Now, don't jump in too much on this because there's a few clips coming up. Apparently, the Biden administration has decided not to overturn the Apple Watch sales ban in the US. Okay. You say something if you want to. Say something, but I have got follow-ups.
Oh, okay. That's what I said.
Long time holdout Lowe's have finally begun rolling out Apple Pay support. This I wouldn't normally have put in, but what surprises me about this is in Europe and in the UK, if you have a reader, which is an NFC reader, you can use Apple Pay because like you can use Google Pay, like you can use any sorts of thing. It's not a matter. Now, yes, the retailers can decide whether they want to use it or not, but basically they just crack on because why would they want to turn away somebody? I've actually done that. Somebody said, no, we don't take that. It's, or they said, we can't take it. And I said, okay, fine.
Okay. So here's your item back.
Yeah. But, if you can't take NFC and it's, anyway, normally you go into anywhere in the UK or Europe and you just pay with your phone.
Sure.
Apple says it strongly disagrees with the Apple Watch ban, working on a technical and legal solution to bring the devices back to the market.
Wow. Me surprised.
I have more news later.
Okay.
Tokyo has tightened the grip on the tech giant's anti-monopoly law targets, and it targets Apple and other app stores. So Japan is now flexing its regulatory muscles, drafting an anti-monopoly law aimed at reining in the domineering app store policies of Apple and Alphabet. This move follows similar actions by the US against Google Play Store and EU fines against Apple for App Store restrictions.
So
we'll wait to see what happens. The planned law, expected to be submitted next year, could result in hefty fines of up to 6% of revenue for violations. Now, it doesn't say well that's worldwide revenue like the EU law does on some of these things. It just says 6% on revenue, which could be in Japan or it could be worldwide. We'll see. Again, this was just a headline, but I did think, yeah, the headline is, Guy, who wants Apple Books Plus? And I was thinking about this, thinking, yeah, they don't seem to push it that much, and I don't see a lot of it. I'd like Apple Books Plus for audio stuff. I'd love some audio books, and I'd possibly even think about going to a higher subscription in the Apple One configuration if they made that available.
For audiobooks. Yeah, that would be worth it.
Yeah.
Well, let me. Depending on what kind of titles would be available and what kind of licensing deals that Apple could work out.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. Well, that goes without saying. But I think that would be worth it. But books, I just don't. Mrs. Gaz just reads. She does read news articles. Actually, I've noticed that she's doing quite a lot of news articles on her phone. But I don't do a lot of reading of stuff unless I'm interested in a subject or, I need to understand something about a subject or a product or something. That's when I do a lot of online or,
right.
Reading books. No. So, yeah. Who wants Apple Books Plus? We shall see. India has targeted the Apple over its phone hacking notifications. Apparently, back in October, Apple issued notifications warning over a half a dozen India lawmakers of their phones being targets of state-sponsored attacks. I remember bringing this up then. According to a new report from the Washington Post, the Modi government have responded by criticizing Apple's security and demanding explanations to mitigate political impact.
Really? So it's not the fault of the idiot user that loaded something on their phone or their computer that they shouldn't have. It's Apple's fault because they don't have the phone so locked down that you can't do anything without their permission.
Or Apple are being targeted by a government that wants to actually be able to do some hacking. I didn't really say that. And I didn't really mean it against any government in particular. Apparently, two Apple Watch users have gotten an email from Tim Cook. That's really great English, isn't it? After sharing, that was me, actually. It's not the title of this article. That was me going for bad English. After sharing their life-saving stories, two more stories have emerged this week praising the Apple Watch ability to detect potentially life-saving health problems. Yeah, they can do some, but there's some that I'd like them to be able to do as well. But, that's for the future.
Let's not go into that.
This time around, both Apple Watch users sent an email to Apple CEO Tim Cook to thank him for the Apple Watch, and both received a response after just a few hours. May not have been Tim Cook that responded, but,
his email address.
That's good. Yeah, absolutely. And nobody can get into my email address, so nobody should be able to get and read into Tim Cook's, not even his secretary. Apple Watch Series 9, Guy, and Ultra 2 are once again available to purchase from Apple's online store, and I also believe the stores in the high streets. Following a ruling from the US Court of Appeals staying the Apple Watch import ban, Apple has returned the Apple Watch Series 9 and the Apple Watch Ultra 2 to its online stores in the US, and they should be available in Apple retail stores. I think they are now. So they filed an emergency request asking for the import ban to be paused while an appeal is underway. So it hasn't been countered, i.e. they can't start selling it again long term. There is still an appeal going in place, but they are actually now available again.
Yeah, they're on their website right now.
Yeah. So that story's going to run for a few months, I think. Whether it's going to have to be a hardware change or a software change, because I think Apple have proposed a software alternative option, and the company, can't remember who it was, have said, no, you've got to do a hardware change. But I've got a feeling that Apple may well end up having a deal with this company, and a software change will end up being enough. We shall
just
see.
Buy the whole company.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure that's going to be on, to be perfectly honest with you. All they did employ some highfalutin people that kind of knew about this stuff, and
well, they used to work for that company, apparently.
Correct. That's where it all stems from.
Yeah.
Apparently, according to some websites, Slow Horses, which I haven't watched yet.
Oh, it's a good show.
I'm lining up to after Christmas where we can sit down and really get into it, because I love that. But Slow Horses alone justifies subscribing to Apple TV Plus. High praise.
I don't know about that.
High praise. Hey.
I've actually fallen behind.
I'm only reporting what I'm seeing.
I know. I've actually fallen behind on For All Mankind again. I'm a couple of shows behind.
What do you like?
I don't know.
What do you like?
I don't know.
Apple stock has underperformed the top tech peers in 2023 due to the longest revenue slide in 22 years. Now, I looked a little bit deeper into this. Okay, so this article was written or highlighted on the last day of trading for 2023. And while Apple saw a 54% gain, 54% guy, for the year, the performance is put into perspective when looking at its competitors and peers. And I know what you're thinking, but just let me finish first. Here's a look at the revenue declines Apple has seen and how it could turn things around in 2024. Goes on and on and on. But what it says is, their performance of 54% year to date, while that is good, and it is double what the S&P 500 did, it doesn't look as good compared to the other big tech leaders. Year to date, Nvidia stock increased 244%. Meta went up 184%. Tesla shares grew 130%. Amazon saw a 78% bump, and even Microsoft stock at a 56% increase edged out Apple over the last year. Now, that's all well and good on percentages, but I think I'd still prefer the 54% gain of Apple's revenue rather than the revenue gains that some of these others have had.
Now, is it revenue gains or is it stock market gains?
Well, it's not. Yeah, it's not. It's talking about trading, so it could be stock market gains.
See, and that's a completely worthless way to measure how good a company is doing.
Yes, other than if you're doing lots of buying and selling and buying on and selling on shorts and making money that way, which makes money for people who earn lots of bonuses, but it doesn't actually make money for you
or the company.
Yes. So we shall see on that one. Anyway. Yeah. I saw this last article repeated, and I wasn't going to put it in, but I just was finishing off and clearing out my Net Newswire feed, and it popped up again from a different company. So whether it's all being picked up by the same company and just spewed up time and time again, it could well be. But I thought I'd throw it in because I didn't want to hear on that Apple stock underperform piece. Apple are exploring high-end Mac gaming, Guy.
Okay.
A recent interview with Inverse reveals Apple's plans for high-end Mac gaming. Leyland Martin and Gordon Keppel, Apple marketing managers. Oh, marketing managers, eh?
Yeah.
Oh, that means it's true then. Provided totally commentary on the Inverse interview with Raymond Wong. Keppel claims that every Mac with the silicon chip can play AAA games pretty fantastically, and how the chip was a transformative factor in mainstream systems. We shall see how far that goes.
They're not wrong. The problem is a lot of the high-end games are using proprietary Microsoft technology, and that's exclusive to the Intel platform, which means that you have to come up with an entirely different way or create an emulator for just those bits of Microsoft code that they use in order for those games. And that's on top of rendering them for a completely different operating system in order to make those games work with the Mac OS. and the M1 or the M series microprocessors. So, the fact that they can run AAA titles doesn't necessarily mean that the companies that create those AAA titles are going to be interested in porting those games over to the Mac.
Targeting doesn't just mean getting the games AAA games that are out there. Could be coming up with their own AAA games. However,
okay.
On the back of what they're putting out and what they've got at the moment, they've got quite a long way to go.
Agreed.
Never. Anyway, that
Never.
That is the end of Gazzy Snippets.
Oh, a little bit of a delay there.
Yeah, there is, and I'm just restarting Farrago because I had that before.
Yeah, we're having like all kinds of problems, Paul Kafarsis, with various pieces of Rogue Amoeba technology.
I'm
or at least, or one of us is.
Yeah, one of us is. Anyway. It's usually me. I think he hates me. So
and there's been time, and usually when I have problems, it's because I've routed something incorrectly and have to go through Audio Hijack and Loopback and all these other programs to figure out what the hell did I do wrong.
Yeah.
Anyway. Speaking of things that sometimes go wrong, let's talk about photos and why it sometimes sucks, Gaz. Let's talk about that. All right.
You see, the funny thing... Oh, I'll leave my bit to the end. You carry on.
Well, I think that what you were about to say is going to be somewhere in this list. And this isn't like a super comprehensive list. This is just like some of the things that I saw online that people were complaining about with photos. And the first one that came up that seemed to have a lot of people very confused and upset was problems with shared libraries. Now, you can share your photos library, and others can share theirs with you. Up to 5 people can do this, according to Apple. The person who initiated the sharing is considered the host, and it will be their iCloud storage that's used for sharing. So when you're trying to set this up, whoever has the most iCloud storage should be the one that's doing the hosting. And then each person in turn will need to turn on photo sharing on any device that uses the iCloud account, their iCloud account that's being shared. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say that's me. Yeah, I'm the one with the most storage.
Yeah, me too. Me too. 2 terabytes. Now, something to be very careful about, something that people don't necessarily understand about photo sharing, is that all photos in a shared library can be edited or deleted by each person in that shared library. So having Aunt Matilda, who doesn't get that just because she doesn't like Aunt Martha and wants to delete all the photos that has Martha in it, might not be a good fit for your shared library. Because if Matilda deletes all the Martha photos from the shared library, they're gone for everyone, including you.
Not quite true. Not quite. Well, no, it is true unless you do a workaround. And the workaround is to make sure that Photos downloads each of those images to your Mac and you store and do a backup from there. But actually, if it's just in the cloud and it's shared, I think I agree with you with the process. But on shared libraries, there's 2 different types of shared, because you can have, it used to be, now what is it I've got? I can't do it on my phone, because now in Photos, it's like, there's not just shared libraries.
There's shared albums.
Shared. Yeah, you're talking about shared libraries. Okay.
Yes.
But even in shared libraries, if the owner of the sharing instigator, i.e. that's you or I, because we've got the amount, if we do a download to our Mac, I'm pretty sure that you can still keep that photo. It doesn't disappear altogether.
Maybe.
But it means...
It depends on how you have your syncing set up.
Correct. Absolutely. So it doesn't totally sort out like that. It doesn't always go that way. But Yes.
Yeah.
You have to be very careful with shared libraries, definitely.
And before we move on from this particular part of photos, if you want to keep others from accidentally or on purpose deleting photos from a shared library, the answer is quite simple. Don't share your library. Instead, create a shared album and put whatever or all pictures in that. That will protect your library, but at the cost of being able to perform a search. Libraries can be searched for individual pictures. Albums cannot. But albums are the safer way to go to prevent accidental deletion of photographs or videos that are in your library, your photos library.
Cool.
Now, the next one, backing up via iCloud. Oh. iCloud solves many problems for Mac users, but it can also create a bunch of new problems that Apple doesn't always want to talk about. For example, selecting to back up your photos library to iCloud seems like a no-brainer until you do, and then the dreaded "not enough iCloud storage" message pops up. So what can you do? All right, number one, look at the amount of storage that you have. Apple so generously gives you 5 gigabytes for free, and I will pause there until you stop laughing. But other tiers are available for an extra cost. Check the size of your photos library and select the appropriate amount of iCloud storage to accommodate said library. Always get more, not less, than the size of that library, and remember to think about future needs. You can get, I didn't even know about this, you can get up to 12 terabytes of storage in iCloud. Did you know that, Gaz?
Yes, because they've recently increased it. It's quite expensive, but they have recently increased it. Yeah.
$60 a month to get that 12 terabytes of storage. Now, if you need that much, quite frankly, there's other online storage methods for your library that won't cost you as much. You won't get many of the syncing options that happen or should happen automatically as it does through iCloud, though. If you have enough storage, but it's still unhappy, try manually updating your iCloud settings, resyncing iCloud to the device by hitting Manage Storage in your iCloud preferences, which can trigger a resync, or making sure that there's no pending data uploads currently happening perhaps on a different device. And when all else fails, try restarting one or more of the devices syncing to iCloud in case one of them is the bad syncing culprit. Now, can I just give you some I'm just going to give some stats here, just so people have got some sort of idea. I don't have any issues with the syncing of Apple and Photos. It works. I'm not going to say seamlessly. There you go.
If I could,
words are hard, Gaz.
Even if I could say the word, it doesn't always happen seamlessly, but it generally does happen, and it's generally pretty good. Yeah. And I have 48,523 images, 1,944 videos, and everything is synced up. That means I can see all of those 48,523 videos and 1,944 videos. Sorry. 48,523 photos and 1,944 videos on any device just by clicking it. It may have to download it, but there is a thumbnail, and I've got searchability on all of those on all of my devices. Absolutely fantastic. I have the 2 terabyte plan, Guy. Mm-hmm. Yes, me too. And those photos take up 756 gigabyte of that 2 terabytes. Mine's about 1/3 of that. So that just gives people an idea of the sort of, you've got to go quite a way to start picking up, because I think 48,000 is a reasonable amount of photos for people to have, and 90.
Yeah.
But these days, the thing is, people tend to take a lot more videos and short videos as well. Now, whether those videos include live photos, I don't think they do. I think live photos sit under the photo side, and live photos don't sit under the video side, but I'm not totally sure on that. But that just gives people a rough idea of the sort of amount of storage you perhaps need if you're starting to build up your library.
Yes.
But I also back up locally as well in 2 different places on 2 different devices. All of my iPhoto library. I do use iPhoto to manage them. I know a lot of people, shock horror, don't like doing that, but I do, and I'm quite happy with it. So
yeah, I don't have any problem using photos for doing that.
In the 15 years I've been using it, I've never had an issue, a major issue that I couldn't get out of. In the 2 years that I was on Windows, it lost everything for me. And that was the reason I looked to another operating system. And that was the major reason I moved over to a Mac.
And it's a good thing you did, or we wouldn't be talking right now.
Anyway, sorry, you've got more to say.
Yeah. Let's move on. And this is something with a library your size that can be a big problem. And that is duplicated photos. There seems to be an issue that everyone has with photos, and that's the number of duplicate issues or videos that you might have in your library. How it happens isn't as important as how to deal with it. You can go out and get an application that will search and delete those images for you, though be very careful, as any mistakes you or the application makes may not be able to be recoverable from the Photos app. There are many such applications to choose from, and I'm not going to recommend one here, so just do a little research and select the one that suits you best. Oh, you got one?
I am. Power Photos.
Power Photos, yeah. I heard Dave Hamilton talking about that pretty recently.
Yeah. I've used that for a long time, a long time. However, having just said that, it's not opening on me. So whether I've got to do an update on Power Photos, I don't know.
Well, do you currently have any duplicates in your library?
Very few. I do have a small number, but there are reasons for why I've got those duplicates, so I keep them.
Okay. You can also do it.
Can I just say, the earlier,
of course,
more regularly you do a check on duplicate photos, obviously the far easier it is.
Yes.
In the long term. So, when you start, if you're new to digital photos and you're starting to have a collection, then start checking for duplicates, understand why you've got those duplicates and whether you need to keep them and whether you want to keep them, and then just start clearing them out if you don't need them, and then just keep on top of it once a month, just once every 6 months, just do it, because if you leave it for a few years, it becomes a bit of an issue. Because you will find yourself creating duplicates for whatever good reason you think it is.
And remember as well that all of the photos that you delete are kept in Photos trash for about 30 days before they get dumped out. So even if you go and do a empty trash on the system level, those photos will still be there for up to 30 days. But as far as removing duplicates, you can also do this manually from the Photos app, though it does require time and patience. There actually used to be a command to delete duplicates in iPhoto Photos, but it seems to have disappeared. So now it has to be done manually, and which method you choose is up to you, but we're going to tell you how to do it directly from Photos. Two main ways to do it: delete or merge. When I did it, I somehow had up to 30 copies of some images, many of which I didn't even really want one. While trying to do a manual delete for each of these would be extremely tedious, the best way to do it is as follows. So open Photos on your Mac and select duplicates from the sidebar. I had over 200 images and 100 videos that were duplicated, so I kind of knew it was going to take a while, Gaz. Select each duplicate image and hit delete on your keyboard. A warning will appear asking if you're sure that you want to delete that image or video. Select the affirmative and the image video will be gone. Repeat until you're ready to scream in frustration. Now you know why those other apps exist. The slightly easier way to do this is to use the merge feature. It works in pretty much the same way as delete, but will handle multiple duplicated images or videos at the same time. So again, open Photos on your Mac and again, select duplicates from the sidebar. Just above each section of duplicated images or videos, there will be a clickable set of words that says merge number of items. And the X, of course, is for the number of duplicates that you may have. When you click the merge X items, a warning will appear asking you if you're sure that you want to merge those images or videos. Select affirmative, and the image videos duplicates will be gone, and the original image will now be, that is now merged, will disappear from the duplicates folder. Now, lastly, many issues related to syncing and backing up can be resolved simply by restarting your Mac. Resyncing your library or signing out and then back onto iCloud is another way to handle it. Remember as well that these actions can take a very long time to finish, especially for large libraries. So before hitting the panic button, give it a couple of days to complete and leave your Mac on the entire time that the sync is ongoing. That's what I got, Gaz.
Cool. I think I pretty much agree with most of that. I'd like to raise one small one. Don't nod your head yet.
I'm not nodding. I'm holding my head down. Wait, let me take the nod away. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Okay, the nod is
okay.
Whoop. The nod is gone.
Shared albums.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a person of Windows orientation and you have created a shared album. Shared album. And you put some in, and obviously your friends put some in, and it's great, and you're using it, you're looking at it, fantastic. And you then want to show somebody that shared album. If you've got an iPad and a large iPad, great. Remember, you've got Windows, you've not got a Mac here. You've just got an iPad or a phone. Great. Looking at them on your phone or your iOS device. However, if you want to have a look at those images online on a large screen, you may think, I know what I'll do. I'll sign into Photos on my iCloud account online. That'll do it.
Yeah.
And you sign in and you go to Photos and you go, hang on a minute. Where are all my shared albums? Well, folks, if you've got a shared album, it doesn't show on iCloud. What you have to do is you have to make sure that you create a link for that shared album and send that link to yourself or to the person that you want to see. That then creates an external link that links to those photos.
Interesting.
Because I think it's a security thing that Apple are looking at here. I would have thought they could have made a much better way around this, especially if you are the owner and you are signing into your iCloud account. But what I think it's a bit of a security issue that they're looking at here. I don't know why. I don't know all the details. But just be aware, folks, that if you want to if you're not a Mac user and you can't AirPlay your photos from your iPad or your phone and you want to go online and show them, you've got to share that link that you can create. You have to make them public and share the link. It's a very specific link. So nobody, only you can really use that link. But basically you then send that link either to yourself so that you can open it up and show people, or send the link to people so that they can see that shared album. Don't sign into iCloud thinking, I know, I'll show them in my iCloud account, because it will make you and me look very silly. Just a little. That's like a pre-tip tip.
Yeah, I was going to say that. What a great tip. Yeah, I'm agreeing with that.
Hit it. Gaz's tips.
There we
Gaz's
go.
tips.
A pre-tip tip.
Gaz's tips.
It's time for
Gaz's tip.
Oh, there's so many jokes I could make right now, but I'm no.
You be very good.
I will be good.
This is Gaz's tips. So
I will be good.
Will you let me finish? Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to put a link into our show notes because the headline to this, I've done a blatant steal of a load of tips, but actually I think they could be really quite useful for people. So the headline of this is 8 tips to extend your iPhone's battery life. Okay, I'm just going to whip through them as quickly as I can, but I'm going to put the and I'm going to put the link into the show notes. I'm going to put it, I think, under Gaz's pick because that's probably the easiest thing to do.
Okay.
But Guy, it'll be in the show notes, folks. Anyway, the first one is disable haptic keyboard feedback. You open up your settings app, tap on sounds and haptics, tap on the keyboard feedback, and toggle the haptic off. I'm just going to go through these once, folks. So you might have to go back 15 seconds if you want to pick it up from me rather than go into the link. Turn off proximity airdrop sharing. Okay. So to do this, you go to settings, general, airdrop, and toggle off bringing devices together. Okay. That's where you tap it together, and it does that stuff.
Well, remember, I used AirDrop when I was helping that person set up their new Mac.
Yeah, but you can soon toggle it back on, but,
True.
That's fine. This is when you bring in the AirDrop together. This is proximity sensing. This one, I was wavering a little bit on this, but it certainly would help, especially if you really are struggling with battery life. Use offline maps now. So basically you can download a map. So let's say you go, right, I want this route to this route, and you do that in maps while you're on Wi-Fi, let's say, you will have the option to download that map and that route. You can do so. And then obviously that will save your battery life because it's not going out searching for the map, bringing it down through the network. Turn off live activities. So you open up the settings app. You go to the Face ID and password section, enter your passcode, obviously, to unlock the phone, and you scroll down and toggle off live activities. Turn off always on display. Okay. Open up the settings app, tap on display and brightness, tap on always on display, toggle off always on display. Now, this is on the current iOS. You may have to do a bit of searching for some of this on some of the other iOSs, because you know what? We may come back to a subject that we think next week in terms of Apple and certain settings and things, possibly. Use focus modes. Now, my daughter actually used focus modes and she loves it. She says it's great. So a focus modes lets you choose which apps and people can send you notifications during work hours, for example. She uses it. She loves it. So use focus modes. That will help your battery life. Limit when and how often apps can access a location. So you open up the settings app, you choose privacy and security, you tap the location services and review the list and edit the settings by tapping the name of each app in the list. Now, this is something you should really do when you first, it will come up as an option, I think, when you first go into an app and it asks you questions, because you might find in that settings you've got rather a lot of apps and you might go, oh, do I really have to go through that? Well, if you want to cheat, just turn them all off, because they'll soon tell you when they're not working and you've got to turn them back on if you really want to go through that. If you want to cheat, that's a bit of a cheat. It's a bit of a nasty cheat, but it's a bit of a cheat.
What a cheat.
There is also you can turn on low power mode as well. This is the 8th one. It's an obvious choice for maintaining battery. So yeah, now I can't remember. Did I not write down where you're going to do that? But basically, if you go into settings and go low power mode, it'll take you there. It'll take you there. So there you go. There's just a few tips, and I'll put the link in the show notes if you want to look at those a little bit more in depth. It actually comes, I'll give them credit. It comes from Mac Rumors. So thank you, Mac Rumors. You might get a few more clicks from us. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd nod my head as
Yeah, me too.
Hit it. That's the end of Gaz's tips. That's the end of Gaz's tips. That's the end of Gaz's tips.
Is that the end of the tip?
Will you let me finish?
Gaz, you are absolutely right.
And there we go. We got through all of that with absolutely very little trouble. We have some feedback this week, Gaz.
Oh, I love it when we get feedback. I love it. I
Me
love it. I
too.
love it. I 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 love it.
And in this particular case, I'm delighted that they called in, or this person called in, and I apologize for kind of calling them out on the last show. And of course, I'm talking about Greg from NC. I was saying, why have you forgotten us? Thou hast forsaken us, Greg from NC. NC Greg. And
Well, we now got 20 messages.
we have 20. No, there's only two. There's only two, but they're
That's
both really
fine.
good. So here's the first one.
Hey, Guy. Hey, Gaz. It's Greg
Hi,
from
Greg.
North Carolina again. I heard Gaz used the phrase, I think it was, he said, blowing the breeze for you two just kind of talking. I think what he was trying to say was shooting the breeze, but for the two of you, it really had been a little more accurate if you called it breaking the wind. Just thought I'd put that in there.
Do you understand what that means?
No.
Breaking the wind. It's when
Oh,
you,
break it.
you
Well,
make a
yeah.
particular sound.
We just say, farting.
Yes.
Breaking
Exactly.
wind. We just say that. Breaking wind. Yes. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you, Greg. I think I totally agree with you. And yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Are you nodding your head?
Shooting the
No,
breeze.
don't nod your head.
No,
don't do
not nodding my head. I'm shaking
Okay.
my head.
it. Here's the second one.
Hey, Guy. Hey, Gaz. It's Greg in North Carolina.
Hi, Greg.
First off, Merry Christmas to both of you.
Merry Christmas, Greg.
You mentioned
Merry
the
Christmas.
latest MyMac podcast, the check that Steve Jobs had written that was sold at auction, and I mean it's really no more than an autograph of his. If someone else had an autograph of his, it might sell for that much. This one just happened to be on a check. That's just a little odd. It did, however, remind me of a story that I've heard. I've heard it told as true, but it's probably apocryphal, but it's still an entertaining story. Apparently there was a friend of Ernest Hemingway's who was visiting him one time, and they're sitting there chatting, and then a plumber who had been doing some work in Hemingway's bathroom comes out and says, all right, Mr. Hemingway, I'm done. The total bill is $150. And Hemingway says, okay, you want me to do it like I usually do? And he says, yeah, that'll be fine. And Hemingway gets out his checkbook and writes 3 $50 checks to give to this guy. The friend of Hemingway's asks, why are you paying him with 3 checks instead of 1? And Hemingway says, well, he can take those checks because they have my signature on them, and he can sell those checks for $75 a piece. He likes it because he gets half again the money, and I like it because the checks never get cashed. Have a great time. Wonderful show. Thanks for all you do.
Oh, thank you, Greg.
I do so hope that's true. Guy, I'm just going to
Yeah.
say you might want to just review that little section and turn Greg up a little bit because he was a bit quiet at my end. So you might just want to review that a little bit.
Okay, I will when I
It,
get to
it
the
could be
editing
fine. It could be
process.
fine on the podcast, but just, anyway. Talk about live editing, folks.
Yeah. Well, it looks pretty. I mean, the levels look pretty.
Okay,
high, but
may
we'll
have
see.
been coming through to me quietly, but just in case, because I know how frustrating that is for the
Oh.
dear listeners who we just adore. So
And we do. And we are very, very, very much appreciative when anyone gives us feedback. Especially Greg from NC, because
Yes,
NC Greg
absolutely.
is awesome. You are awesome, Greg from NC. And NYC Greg, slacking. As a matter of fact, actually, hold on for a second. Over on Facebook, Tim Robertson, our fearless leader, was talking about having his like auto shaver thing, and he had it
Yes.
set at 0 instead of 10, and accidentally cut off part of the hair on his chin, and so he ended up having to shave the whole thing, or his chin hair anyway, just so it didn't look weird. And NYC Greg making a comment was saying something about that you should get audio tips from Guy for something about the podcast. And I was like, dude, don't drag me into this. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Believe anyone who is taking audio advice from me, I really have to question where you're coming from for so many, many reasons. As a matter of fact, I don't know if I told you this, Gaz, all of the effects and stuff that I used to have set up in Audio Hijack, I've completely removed. And I think it sounds better than just a straight microphone. With the only thing I've got on there is some volume control in case it's too soft or whatever. But everything I was doing before, gone. It's like, dope, just the straight microphone. Thank you very much. Where am I? Oh, yes. If you would like to help support the show, I'm getting lost. You can do so by going to Patreon, patreon.com/MacParrot. You can go over to Coffee, K-O. There we go.
It's doing it again. It's doing the delay. I'm just gonna do a quick before you carry on. I'm gonna just try and be a little cheeky. So
okay,
yeah, you carry on now.
All right, Coffee, ko-fi.com/MacParrot, or much better, you can
fix it.
You can now. It's like the third time you've had to fix it this show. Yeah, you can pay a pal by going to paypal.me/MacParrot. Now, Gaz, if people wanted to contact you and say, NYC Greg, don't do that to Guy. Don't do it. Don't do it, dude. And I'm kidding, of course. You can,
of course, he is.
Follow or don't follow or do whatever it is you want to do in relation to me and audio. But if somebody wanted to contact you and say, why would anyone want advice from Guy about audio? How would they do that?
Ever so easy, Guy. Ever so easy.
Send
an email. An email to Gaz, G-A-Z, at mymac.com. You can also contact me other than via an email, which is gaz@mymac.com, G-A-Z.
Of course.
At Twitter, you could do as well. See what I did there? I kind of linked it and unlinked it.
Yeah, just like
split it up. A lot of socials. You can find me as Gazmaz, G-A-Z-M-A-Z.
Cars.
On the Twitters /X, whatever it is. Mastodon, social...
counter thing.
Counter social, whatever it is.
When was the last time you went to Counter Social?
Oh, I do keep going in there and posting occasionally. Yeah,
I haven't gone there in a while.
Look. I do look. I'm also on that other thing, the Threads thing as well. Yeah. And Instagram. Just look for Gazmaz. And if you can't find me, contact me at gaz@mymac.com. Guy and myself are also on the X's as Guy and Gaz, GYANDGAZ.
Gars.
.com, whatever. I don't care.
Somewhere.
I've given up. You can also send an email to feedback, FWDBACK, at
mymac.com.
mymac.com. I should do one for the Mac Geek Gab guys, isn't it? FWDBACK. See how fast I can say it.
Yeah.
K. And he's going to be live as well.
Did you say feedback at mymac.com?
I said feedback, FWD. See, I can't do it now. I can do it once or twice, and then it becomes a tongue twister.
It's all done.
Anyway.
Guy.
His name was Guy.
Oh.
Guy. Guy's the one. You remember Guy?
Guy says.
Do we know it was a guy?
We do.
Get up, Guy.
Right now. Get up.
No fooling.
Oh.
If you want.
An email from Guy.
How would they do it?
You would do that by sending an email to...
Oh, you want me to do this?
at mymac.com. Oh, yeah. Guy at mymac.com. You can also contact me on the Twitter X's by going to either MacParrot or VertShark. I am also MacParrot over there on Counter Social and Mastodon.social. I am also MacParrot. Mac, parrot. So many parrots. They're all over the place. Oh, what else? I think that's everything, isn't it? There's vertshark.com that you can go to. And we also, Gaz, we have a Google Voice number.
We do.
We do. And
indeed.
Greg from NC Greg, he knows that number. Thank you. What is that
Round
number,
of
Gaz?
applause. Round of applause. The number is, this is the Google Voice number, everyone. And I'm going to say it once, nice and clearly, so you all get it once. 703 8. Oh, no, let me start that again. Hang on a minute.
Yeah.
7038. No. I'm going to do it once. I'm just 467. No, that's the end of it. Hang on a minute.
No, that's the wrong side.
004. No. I'm sure
This is harder than it looks.
I say it is. 286. Oh,
God.
703 828 4677.
Yes, that's it. And for those
Numbers
of you,
are hard.
It is
Numbers
a number.
are hard.
So are words. Words and numbers. They're really hard. For those of you who have the attention span of a gnat and wasn't able to follow that, that is 703-828-4677. So this is the time of the show that we're going to tell you, number one, Happy New Year. Please, if you go out, not only pay attention to what you're doing as a driver, but pay attention to what everybody else is doing, because there is lots of crazy people out there who do many silly and stupid things on New Year's Eve. We want you to continue to listen to this show because we can't afford to lose anybody at this point. So we want to say thank you. Thank you to every single one of you who download and listen to the MyMac.com podcast. It is greatly appreciated. And Gaz, I think that we're good enough. And I think that with the new year, we're smart enough.
Yeah.
And that Wilf Gonnet, Woof, that amazing dog who can hide from everybody, that people like us.
I have a joke about chemistry.
Really?
I don't think it'll get much of a reaction.
Oh.
End.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Thanks for downloading and listening to the MyMac Podcast. You can also hear other great podcasts on the MyMac Podcasting Network, like the Tech Fan Podcast, Three Geeky Ladies, Geekiest Show Ever, the Let's Talk Podcasts, Essential Apple Podcast, and the Club PlayStation and Club Nintendo Podcasts.
Oh, and I was going to say to you, is that your ultimate dream?
Which?
Dolphins versus Ravens for the AFC playoff.
Well, they're going to play tomorrow.
Yeah, I suppose that, yeah. Is that going to mean who's AFC champion?
Well, not so much for the championship, but who's going to have home field advantage throughout the playoffs.
Okay.
So if the Ravens win,
could they end up playing each other again for the AFC?
Oh yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
Now they're not going to, because the way it works in the playoffs, you take the best team and the worst available team, throw them together with someone. So
so first versus fourth, second versus third.
Right. And the first week, if the Dolphins have the second best record in the AFC, neither Baltimore nor Miami will have to play in the first round of the playoffs. It'll be the 2 or the 3 wild card teams and the division champion with the worst record.
Yeah.
So that'll make up the first 2 games for each conference. So there'll be 2 games for the AFC, 2 games for the NFC.
Yeah.
And then the
Yeah,
following week,
I was concentrating on the AFC because obviously because of Dolphins and Ravens
Right.
being, yeah.
and I feel like kind of a traitor because I'm wearing a Ravens jersey, but I really do prefer the Dolphins. But you know, it is what it is. And when I got up this morning, I just grabbed a shirt and cares anyway. You know, it's not like the people for the Dolphins are going to be like, my feelings are hurt because Guy Searle wore a Ravens shirt.
Yeah, I don't think it is.
I don't want to play anymore.
I'm not sure how many of those people that watch the YouTube video are really in that camp.
Probably very few. Very, very few. But we'll see. Tracy actually put out there's Raven flags in our front yard right now.
Right.
Even though it's Dolphins Ravens tomorrow. And it's like, I don't have any like Dolphins flags that I could put out there, but okay. I'll just deal.
Cool. Anyway,
but
sorry.
I'm looking forward to the game.
Yeah, should be a good one.
And I was really surprised and quite delighted that they beat the Cowboys last week. The Dolphins
that was a cracking game.
Yeah. So, you know, yay. I was happy. Okay, let's do this intro. MyMac Podcast 959. I'm going to do it again because I forgot what the other part of it was. Sorting out photos. Okay. You wouldn't think it would be that hard. You know, it's just like sorting out photos. MyMac Podcast 959. Sorting out photos. Recording. Switching. Oh, no. Come on. There we go. So whenever you're ready.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's mighty MyMac podcast. Well, does photos drive you crazy with all of its sometimes very annoying? Don't like that. Was going to carry on and then decided to stop.
Okay. And, you know, me being an audio expert and all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very true. Okay, so I've downloaded...
Tim, listen to me. I'm the audio expert. Do everything I tell you to do with audio.
Okay, so it's not...
Sorry.